Good evening, everyone. This is just a kind of a talk. It's not a rant because I've already done my rant for this month, I think. And I wanted to talk instead about ChiFi. ChiFi, Chinese high fidelity items. And ever since I got into this headphone, amp, DAC, audiophile, semi audiophile game, I've gone on forums because that's the first place you actually want to look. It's user experience that are posted on forums. And often they talk about ChiFi, best ChiFi player. ChiFi player for under $200. ChiFi this, ChiFi that. And it's kind of interesting now that I think about it after having all sorts of amplifiers and DACs and headphones and DAPs and all sorts of stuff, having done research, that I sit back and I think, what isn't made in Asia? And why do we call it ChiFi? Why? And is it a derogatory term to say ChiFi? And I don't know. Some people might think of it in a derogatory way. Other people might just be using it as a handle, an easy way of describing where items or products are made to identify the type of thing that they're looking for. For example, if somebody says, I just want a ChiFi product, can you name a ChiFi product for me? Perhaps what they're talking about is a less expensive product that is of good quality, both build and sound. And if that's a handle, that there's nothing wrong with that. But if somebody says ChiFi in a derogatory way, then that's an issue. And I don't mean derogatory as in racist or demeaning in any way. It's just derogatory in the sense that, well, my country makes better products like America or Canada, or where else are audio products made these days? China? Korea? Japan? Some are made in the old Eastern Bloc in the USSR, like Ukraine and Poland. But where else can you get, I mean, quality, mass-produced, high-fidelity products? I don't know of any other mass-produced item that's made in any other country than the ones that I've just named. And I think that it's kind of telling, because I was just doing my own research sort of in order to try to talk about this. Even Astle and Kern, this very highly priced and very highly prized, with a Z, priced and prized company, makes products in Asia. They're owned by iRiver. Yeah, iRiver, exactly. If you know anything about iRiver, iRiver has made iPod, iPhone, iPad items since the inception of those products. Do you remember the original iPod? iRiver came out with a desktop speaker system for the iPod that you can dock it into. iRiver had its own player, really cheap and awful, and I had one of those for a short time. But that's Asian made. And Astle and Kern, the epitome of some audiophile desires, is Asian made. Fio, as we all know, is Asian made. I think it's in Korea. Cohen, C-O-W-O-N, is also from Asia. I also think that's Korea. Japan, obviously, with Sony products. And the question is, for me, and it's just a question that I'm just throwing out there, are Chinese products bad? My position would be no, Chinese products are not bad. Do Chinese companies, some of them, do underhanded things? Well, yeah, of course. So do American companies and Canadian companies and European companies and Russian companies. Anybody has the capacity to do something shady, has the capacity to want to sell you snake oil. I mean, the headphone cable business is almost all snake oil, especially when you read about some of their rather ostentatious, shall we say, commentary about what their cables can do. But that doesn't mean just because a particular company or a group of companies is less than honest or completely dishonest, that doesn't mean that products made in that country are all bad. FIO is an excellent example of this. Where do you go now in order to buy a portable DAC amp or a player? If you have a tight budget, say you want to buy something that's reasonably priced, $500 or less, that gives you performance per pound, essentially, or dollar. Where do you go? You go to FIO. FIO is mass-produced, and it's everywhere. Their marketing is fantastic. They're all over Amazon and eBay. People buy FIO products. FIOs often, from my research, become the first type of player, audiophile-grade player, or amp or DAC, portable amp or DAC, that people get. And from there, they can upgrade if they want to. But if you go online and you read reviews and you go on YouTube and you watch reviewers like Zeos, who loves FIO products, a lot of them anyway, because he reviews them and he gives good marks to them, you will notice that people, even professionals like Zeos, hold on to their FIO players and amps and DACs because they're of quality material. Indeed, if you go on Amazon, you look at the reviews, FIO consistently has excellent reviews for all of their products. What about Cohen? Same response. Sony, same response. And so, is there any longer a distinction between, just for the sake of argument, a distinction between an American-made product and a Chinese-made product, other than the fact that it's made in two different places? Apple Incorporated designs its products in California, but it manufactures them in Asia. Is it an American product or is it a Chinese product? Well, all the brain power behind the new Mac Pro that cost $35,000, fully kitted out, by the way, that was designed in America. It may or may not be produced in America, but it was designed in America. All the iPods and iPhones, they were designed in America and now are manufactured in China or other parts from Asia. Are they Asian products or are they American products? So, does it matter where the company is housed? Does it matter where the idea comes from? Or is it of more import where the manufacturing actually takes place? Why is this of any relevance? Well, because of one particular company that I have taken specific note of since I've started this journey into not auto asphyxiation. I don't know why I was thinking that. That is not what I was thinking about. I was going to say audiophilia. I don't know how auto asphyxiation came into audiophilia. Forget I even said that. Audiophilia. Yes. One company I was looking at is Monoprice. They're a divisive company. They don't make fantastic products every time. They make good products, and they fail at good products, and then they improve the good products, and they try to get it better, and then they drop the ball on some aspect of that better, improved product, and they just keep getting better and better and better. And they're not ashamed of it. They're not ashamed of bombarding the internet with all sorts of stuff. They will make anything and everything unashamedly. They will give you every single thing you could possibly imagine. You want a cable? No problem. We have 10 different cables. You want a CD player? Who listens to things on a CD player? But you know what? We'll give you a CD player. You want an amp DAC? No problem. We'll give you an amp DAC. Hey, did you ever think about putting a THX AAA module in a portable? We'll do it. And they did it. They did it before FIO did it. FIO, this big company. I mean, I'm not saying that Monoprice is not a big company, but what I am saying is that FIO has been around doing this audio stuff and doing it really well for a long time. But FIO didn't bring out the THX AAA module for their player before Monoprice did. Monoprice had it in market, is available currently, whereas the AD3 or AM3D, whatever module, is not even available in America or Canada or anywhere in the Western Hemisphere. Eastern Hemisphere? Western Hemisphere? Wait, is North and South Hemisphere? In America, it's not available. Look, this is American tutelage here speaking. This is American education. I don't know my hemispheres. I'm sorry. What was I talking about? This is also part of American education. We don't have lengthy memories either. Our short-term memories aren't very good. Long-term memories are terrible. Diction, bad. Mathematics, don't even ask us. Linguistic abilities, few if any. We barely can speak to each other. By the way, I'm done ranting about America because America is great. Everybody knows it. But Monoprice, what Monoprice has done and continues to do is improve the mistakes, improve upon the mistakes, or they change the mistakes and they improve the product that they made. The M1060 is a great example. I have the M1060, but I have the second version of the M1060. The first version of the M1060 had significant driver issues, and a lot of people complained about it. They had so much potential, despite the fact there were accusations that Monoprice stole from Odyssey. Besides the point. And clearly, Monoprice listened because they tweaked the driver and they made it better. And the second version of the M1060 is noticeably better than the first version from everything that I've read and researched on. But people still weren't happy. They said the driver's still not exactly what we want to hear. And so Monoprice released the M1060C, the close version, and they improved the driver again. And now people are saying, you know, the M1060 close, that's the driver I want. I don't want the close back. And so people have modded the close back to take the closeness off. They take that wood part out, and people get these kits from eBay where they're custom cutouts, grills for making it open back. And now they love their M1060. It is their M1060 version 2.5 for them. And this is evidence that Monoprice, as a Chinese company, as an Asian company, I think they're Chinese, as an Asian company, is trying very hard to produce products for audiophiles and on top for normal people. Because if you go to Odyssey, you have to be really careful whether you're going to buy that pair of headphones today or whether you're going to be able to meet all the rest of your bills for the rest of the month. That's a conundrum. Who has $1,000 to spend on the lowest grade Odyssey headphone? But you can get a planar magnetic headphone of decent quality and good sound for about $250 from Monoprice. Isn't that amazing? Very similar to, well, it's the same technology, the same type of driver, different tuning, as we've already discussed in my review of the M1060, not M1060, I'm sorry, of the LCD2 closed. But they are trying very, very hard to give the best product they can. Now, they're making mistakes for one reason or another, and I can't fathom what the reason is. The M1060 is just one example. Look at the Monolith THX AAA desktop amplifier. Despite its own quirks and little issues that I have with it, it sounds great. The last video I uploaded with it was with the comparison between it and the Massrock THX 789. The minor differences, if any differences. Can you imagine that? And the 789 is sold out. So Monoprice could theoretically sell that amplifier, that DAC, for, I don't know, $700, $800 instead of $480 or whatever they do. Because it has a lot of things, a lot of functions that the 789 doesn't have. And do you know of any other THX AAA module DAC for desktop other than these two, the 789 and the Monoprice? I don't. I did a lot of research. I tried to find an alternative. I couldn't. It's not there. And have you the ability currently to buy, in at least America, do you have the ability to buy a portable THX AAA amp DAC combo other than from Monoprice? You don't. these people, Monoprice, is clearly trying to carve out its own niche. I don't say this because I'm getting anything out of Monoprice. I'm not. I'm not getting any payment. I'm not getting any reimbursement. They don't even know anything about the fact that I'm doing this rant video, whatever. But let me just get out of this because you're not seeing anything. Let's rather do waveform. But it's really interesting to me as a consumer, not as a diehard audiophile, to sit here and watch and learn and then find out that you don't have to pay exorbitant prices to get very competitive, clear, good products. You know, the difference between the LCD2 closed and the M1060C is noticeable. They both have their own particular sound characteristics, but they're both excellent headphones in their own right. You can't be faulted for picking the M1060 over the LCD2. If that's the decision you make, you made a pretty smart decision. You saved yourself several $100s doing that. And as an audiophile, a budding audiophile, a semi-audiophile, it's nice to know that there are companies from China, from Asia, that are indeed producing quality products. And if they're not yet to the level I want them to be, they seem to strive to do better than they have. Whether that is an attainable goal for that company is yet to be seen. But it gives me a lot of confidence and peace of mind to know if I wait a little bit longer, a couple more months, maybe 6 months or a year, one of these Asian companies is going to produce a product that is going to compete with another product that costs 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times the cost. And for those of you who have subscribed to my videos, watch my videos, I think that you are probably budget conscious, because I don't tell you to go out and buy the most expensive thing. I don't tell you to go out and buy anything, really. But the conversations that I've had with a lot of my subscribers is often, can you recommend something under this particular price range? And that's a good question to ask. And the first place you should look when you have that type of question is companies like Monoprice and Fio and Cohen. Well, the lower version of Cohen. Cohen makes some really ridiculously priced products, a lot like Astral and Kern. And just ignore audiophiles that talk about, oh, you have got to get this $2,600 DAP. You have to pay $350 for this particular headphone cable because it gives you the best, purest, most wonderful sound. That's nonsense. It's being a shill for the sake of being a shill. That's all, because they're not getting anything out of it most of the time. When the company's not going to come knock on their door and give them a check for recommending that they buy a $350 headphone cable. That's not going to happen. So if you have that question, what's the best X under, I don't know, $500, because that's an easier number. Go to one of these companies, look at their products, compare. And then you will be surprised if you go and compare a similar type of product with that from a company that is higher, well, more highly regarded, like Astral and Kern. I'm just dropping Astral and Kern because I have an Astral and Kern player right in front of me right now, so that's the name I'm going to use. And you compare specs, you go, it's almost the same spec. I guess. I mean, Astral and Kern is somewhat a little shady. A lot of these bigger companies, even Sony, especially Sony, they're very shady about the components inside their products. And the Chinese companies, not so much. They tend to provide a little bit more detail. You compare back, left and right, and often you're going to sit there and go, what's the difference? It's the same Wolfson DAC. It's the same Cirrus Logic. It's, it amplifies the headphone to the same decibel level. Whatever. What's the difference? One looks better than the other, and then it comes down to looks. And I think it's a great option to have. I think it's fantastic to be able to look at these two types of genres, not genres, but these two types of categories. sub 500 as my example, and in excess of 500 like an Ashton Kern. And if you compare them side by side, you often you're gonna go, I can't see the difference. And I tell you this out of experience because as I've told you, I've been looking for digital audio players to do a full gamut review, looking at different DAC chipsets and modules and amplification modules and circuitry, so I can get a kind of a good idea of what's out there. Just a general overview, essentially. And when I get to Ashton Kern, and I say, okay, so if I buy an Ashton Kern, what is the middle ground Ashton Kern that I can probably get, and then compare it with, and I go back and forth and go, why would I buy an Ashton Kern now if this other player, let's say a Cohen player or a Fio player, they have very similar specs? Why would I get the Ashton Kern other than for maybe the aesthetics or the UI implementation? But I can learn to live with the UI, and I can learn to not care so much about aesthetics, especially if the thing's going to be in my pocket all day. And it's liberating, in my opinion, to me, it's liberating to not have to go down that road to the more expensive shop. Someday, would I like to have the most expensive something from Ashton Kern? Sure, why not? For the heck of it, if I have money to waste, if it's burning a hole in my pocket, yeah, why not? I'd rather burn a hole in their pocket and give you that whatever item it is. But it's not necessary, especially for individuals who are budding audiophiles or people who are audiophiles and have lives to live. When you go to forums, you read the stuff about ChiFi, and then you have comparisons of really highly spec'd headphones, or not highly spec'd headphones, but highly priced headphones and amps and DACs and all sorts of stuff. At the end of the day, does it really matter? Or are you just paying for the name? Is the Jotunheim that I have significantly less good than, I don't know, what's the most expensive solid-state amplifier you can think of? I don't know. Mytek? Mytek amplifiers are very expensive. Is it that much less good than a Mytek? Well, I mean, I guess if you have a digital chart and a computer to analyze, then yeah, probably in some manner. But then you're not really an audiophile for the pleasure of the music. You're an audiophile for the pleasure of attaining things, right? For getting items, for being bombastic, for having materials that don't really elevate your listening pleasure. At least that's my 2 cents, or half a cent. Thank you so much for, kind of sitting around listening to me chat. How do you think the microphone's doing so far? I've used it several times. It's been, let's say, a week worth of use for this microphone. I hope it's sounding good. It sounds good to me. I think I really like this microphone. The Neumann TML 103. This is really the sound I was looking for in all the other microphones that I purchased. And I didn't want to bite the bullet and get this because it was so expensive, and now that I found it for super cheap, I am really happy that this microphone exists. I like it. Tell me what you think, if you think you like it or not. And if you have any suggestions on how to improve the audio quality, let me know. But of course, whatever I do while recording is going to get messed about by YouTube as it's uploading and compressing and processing and does its own thing. Everybody have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you very much for commenting if you comment. And thank you once again for giving me your time and your attention. Have a wonderful night.